that man will always be. Now I can read his letters, I sure can't read his mind. I thought he's loving me, he's leaving all the time. Now I see my poor love was blind, now I got the crazy blues. Since my baby went away, I ain't got no time to lose. I must find him today. Now the doctor's gonna do all that he can, but when you're gonna need is an undertaker man. I ain't had nothing but bad news. Now I got that crazy blues. And that was $1 million seller for Mamie Smith. So the show here, as Eve had said, was inspired by my doing publicity and promotion for Ella Jenkins and for Coco Taylor for her foundation. And I really started to dig deeply into the story of blues women and realizing, although now, as we just saw, the great production of Ma Rainey, Black Bottom, but I just realized that they weren't getting the attention, they were not getting the stories that needed to be told. And all of these women here on the walls, you know, everybody has a story. So I encourage you, I have a little booklet I'm gonna leave out on the table here. I also have some material back on the piano I would love you to take along with you. And I want you to learn more about the women of the blues. And like all of the women before me who spoke, I'm sorry, I just applaud you for what you are doing. It's so extraordinary. Raina, the stories that you're telling through film is incredible. And I hope that these stories of the women on the walls just pique your interest to learn more about them. And we hope that we can make this a really big splash in Chicago, whether it be murals, whether it be in education, but we want their stories to be told, like Holly the Maxwell, who has been in the eye of the media since she was, I want to say 6 months old when she appeared on the cover of the Chicago Defender as a model, as a baby. And since then, Holly's journey has been magnificent all around the world. Chicago clubs, I mean, 7 nights a week performing. I am so blessed to be her friend. Grateful. And Peter Hurley, who has captured these extraordinary, extraordinary images. This is just a slight little collection. These are 16 photos. I did this last year, and it was 100 photos for the 100th anniversary of the suffrage movement with 25 photographers from around the world, women of all ages, race, sexual orientation, I'm sorry, that have been captured by different photographers. And I'm just excited that it's here at the Cliff Dwellers Club. So now I'd like to invite up Holly and Peter. Peter Hurley? Okay, Peter is going to introduce Holly. Our good friend, incredible photographer. We've kind of become a family, I think. We're elbow to elbow in the photography pits when there is a festival.
Yes,
and
we are.
Thank you, Peter Hurley.
You, thank you. We are a family. Great stuff. Hi, I'm going to be brief because Holly's got the stories. So welcome to this segment, to Lynn's production of Women of the Blues. And it's an honor to be here and represent the photographers. I'm only one of about 25 in the collection, and our friend Alan Winkler is another of our members, photography contributors. And well, I've been a visual artist, a painter most of my life until about 2012 when I was invited to attend this Blues Mamas for Obama, Chicago Blues Mamas for Obama concert. And the name alone, I had to attend. It was just a great, so Lynn co-produced it with Fran Allen Leak. And it was amazing. I'll just read off my notes here. It was through Lynn and Holly that I began my late career as a professional photographer and blues artist. On in 2012, I was introduced to the wealth of talent of the Women of the Blues when I attended this concert. And it was a beautiful program. It was scheduled to coincide with election night. They actually had a big screen on stage that measured the tallies of the votes coming in. So we didn't know what the end result was going to be, but the atmosphere and the vibe was magnificent. And lo and behold, maybe it was during your segment, Holly, that the votes were in and Obama won and the place went up for grabs, and it was great. And it was his second term. So when hearing of the event, I invited myself, and I just had an instinct. I've used cameras to take pictures for my own references for my paintings up to then, mostly dance. But I just had a gut feeling, so I attended this thing. Lynn invited me, accepted me with open arms. I was given free access to the stage and the pit and all of the access that the photographer loves to have. And there was this element of inclusion. It was all women produced, but it was not restricted to my gender, from my gender. So that's one of the things I'd like to think is common among women's art and acts is there's a sense of inclusion. It's rarely exclusive. So I jumped in full feet forward, and up to that time, the blues is always, especially Chicago blues, aside from Coco Taylor and a couple of more great stars in the blues, has mostly been known as a men's art. Well, come to find out, that original recording you were talking about, Mamie Smith's, I think was the very first blues recording ever. And anyway, I was just blown away by all of the artists. One was as great as another. And then finally, Holly came on. And late in the show, did you close the show that night, Holly? Do you remember? And there was a turning point for me as an artist, as a visual artist. I was up there with my camera, and I'd been taking some wonderful shots all night. And at some point, Holly just looked me straight in the eye. I don't know, it was either in my eye directly or through the lens, and invited me, challenged me to join in the art that she was making on stage. It felt like, you're invited, pal. You can either run or you can be here with me. And it was like being called out. I've got some great shots of her looking straight at me. And I decided to jump in. And I've been taking photographs ever since. Some are here. It's such an incredible art, the blues art, and especially by the women. Most of the women are singers. A lot of the men are guitar players, bass players, drummers. But the stage presence and the stage craft that the best of them bring to this art is just phenomenal, and I'm so glad I joined, and I'm so glad I met Holly and Lynn that night. And without further ado, Miss Holly Maxwell. Holly V. Maxwell. By the way, Holly will be signing books after the performance over there by the piano. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say it's an honor, and it's my pleasure to be here with you. And this is such a wonderful occasion for Women's History Month. Eve, thank you so much. This is exciting for me. Lynn, thank you so much. Peter, thank you. Tricia, thank you. And Alan, thank you. That's going to be my next husband right there. Okay, are you all ready for this? My name is Holly V. Maxwell. I started singing when I was 5 years old, professionally. My mother was an opera singer. My dad was an arbitrator for the UAW, and he graduated from Tuskegee Institute. My mom graduated from Northwestern. Well, back then, that was unusual. So they had me, and they said, that's it. We can't do this anymore. Okay, so my mom took me downtown to the Chicago Musical College when I was 6, and they told her, oh, she's too young. You have to bring her back when she gets 9 years old. Anyway, my mother brought me back down to the Chicago Musical College, and I started taking voice and piano. My teachers was Alexander Vita and Thelma Wade Brown. And I continued singing. I sang my first song when I was 5 years old. I got professionally paid, so I became a professional. Then from there, I sang and sang and sang. And let me tell you something. This is the truth. I knew I could sing. You told me I couldn't sing, you'd be in a fight. I knew I could sing, so that was my calling. Everything was music, music, music. That was my life. And my mom took me when I was 12 years old. My mom took me to Reverend Dr. Lena McGlynn. You should do something on her, Eve. Yes, she's the black queen of opera. Wow. She's the black queen of opera here in Chicago, Reverend Dr. Lena McGlynn. Anyway, between her and my mother, they presented me at then it was called the Civic Opera House, and that was the Lyric Opera House, and I was 12 years old. And I'm the only African-American child that's ever been presented at the Lyric Opera House at 12 years old. And then we went on from there, and my mother would not let me get into trouble. You know, she kept me busy. If it wasn't voice lessons, it was piano lessons. If it wasn't piano lessons, it was twirling the baton lessons. If it wasn't twirling the baton lessons, incidentally, I was the lead majorette for Ida B. Wells Complex when I was a little girl. And she just kept me busy, so I stayed out of trouble. High points are I graduated from Roosevelt University and went on to graduate with a master's degree at Juilliard in New York. And I'm in the process now of writing a new book called All Kinds of Rape, From Opera to the Blues. That's going to explain to you how the entertainment business is a barracuda and a very dirty business. It's not all that it is trumped up to be, lights, camera, action. But behind those cameras, boy, you got something to deal with, okay? There's so much. You ain't got all day. You know what I'm saying? It's so much. My life has been extraordinary, and I'm thankful to God that I'm still here, able to tell you some of all these things. But let me say this, because this is one of the reasons that I'm here. I wrote this book called Freebase Ain't Free. It tells the true story about Ike Turner. I need you to get a copy because he got a bad deal, y'all. Now, some of the things I'm about to say to you, you may not understand it, you may not agree, but Mr. Turner was the best thing to happen to me. I want you to know this. He was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Because if he had hit me, he would have got shot. Okay. But he wasn't like that. He wasn't like that at all. The man was about his music. He had blinders on as far as his music is concerned. And he did not know that he was dealing with a self-abusive woman. I want you to think about what I said. He did not know he was dealing with a self-abusive woman. When you are self-abusive, you teach other people how to abuse you. And then they become self-abusive, so it goes back and forth, doesn't it? Well, that's what happened to Ike. Ike had no idea what he was dealing with. As long as you sang, and that's what happened with me, I didn't want to be his woman. I didn't want to go to bed with him. If he had been like that, I would have blew it, right? Yeah, I would have blew it. So those things didn't happen to me with Ike Turner. Ike Turner was a mentor to me. He cared about me. We were like partners in crime. He was not, oh my God, the man was a genius. He was a musical genius. And because he was, and I say this very firmly, because he was preyed on. He was preyed on because he did not go along with the system of the music business. He was a very smart, intelligent man. And back then, that wasn't liked with black men. That wasn't liked. So they were waiting on Ike to take him down. And this book, Free Base Ain't Free, tells the real story about what happened to this man and how he came back up and claimed his rights as one of the world's greatest musicians that ever lived. I need you to get a copy of this because I'm very passionate about what they did to him and that wasn't right. Now, after that, I came home, took care of my mom. 2007, I came home, took care of my mom, and ended up homeless because I was accused of abusing my mother, which was not true at all. And eventually they found out that that wasn't true, and they kept saying, well, you're not guilty. I said, that's what I was telling you all the time. But from there, I bounced back. And again, I thank God for my being. I thank God for making me the person that I am, for allowing me to keep walking in his light and to keep walking in the greatness of his soul and of his spirit. Because some of the things that we go through, in this life, a lot of people don't come back from. So you have to be thankful, you have to be giving, you have to be happy, and you have to be a positive entity in this world, and you have to give back to others. And that's what I do, that's how I live my life. And I just want to thank you all for appreciating the blues and all genres of music, because that's my life. And that will always be my life. And again, Eve, thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, Holly and Lynn and Peter. We're at our last session, Power of the Hand. Our eyes turn to the sculptures in the room. And I give thanks to our curator of sculpture, Ruth Jesus Migdal. She has graced the window stands with sculpture pieces by 3 strong and accomplished women artists: Deborah Hand, Sadie Woods, and Gwen Yen Chu. Thank you. Yes. You can also see Ruth's own sculpture on the club's deck. Now, sculpture has multiple elements: shape, color, form, value, space, and texture. And to the dread of many museums and galleries, it often invites touch. I find myself touching sculptures, and I wondered why. Well, Marlon Komar at CNN did the research. She interviewed Fiona Cadlin, a professor of museology at Birkbeck College in London, and a woman who's the author of Art, Museums, and Touch. According to Cadlin, there are a number of reasons why we're tempted to touch art, one of which is the desire to learn more. You want to examine the finish of a piece, check that surface, or figure out how parts of a piece were joined together. But something else, Cadlin says in the article, is far more striking. Cadlin mentions our thinking of the human element behind the work and wanting to connect with the person behind the genius. She tells of a sculpture, Bar Hepworth, at the Yorkshire Sculpture Park in England, where you can see her finger marks in it. And if people notice this, they will often put their hands against these finger marks to give that sense of her hand and their hand meeting. How beautiful that thought. Well, we might have that desire to meet the hand of the artist here when looking at the sculpture by Gwen Yen Chu. I'm so excited to have her here with us. Gwen is a Chicago-based Taiwanese-American artist whose work explores and critiques the ephemeral nature of human history, social practices, and emotion through abstraction. Her process features fabricated and cast metal at its core. Gwen attended the Rhode Island School of Design for Fashion Design and the School of the Art Institute of Chicago for Sculpture, receiving her BFA from the school in 2018. Since graduation, she has shown her work both nationally and internationally. Gwen also works as a metal fabricator, assisting artists around Chicago in all aspects of creating and producing large-scale sculptural works. Please, help me warmly welcome Gwen Yen Chu. And maybe after the program, she'll let you touch her work.
Of course you can touch my work. It's meant there to be touched. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity for me to be here, to speak here. What an amazing group of women that came up here and spoke today. Oh my God, I feel so inspired right now. So as Eve had introduced me, my name is Gwen. I'm a Chicago-based sculptor, and I always knew I wanted to be an artist since I was the age of 2. I have a drawing to prove it. My mother kept it, and it was, I really thank you for my mother, because she was the one, she was not only an artistic, and she was a very supportive mother. She let me do everything that I wanted to do for art making wise. You know, with all my Asian American friends growing up, you know, they wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer. Their parents told them to, you know, and I said, oh, I want to be an artist. They said, what's wrong with you? you know. But my mother always believed in me. She said, keep making, and always think of the next step. So I got my first job when I was 13, and I had a little envelope that I had kept, and I started saving up I was being paid in cash, so I started saving up my cash in that, and I knew, so my dream is to be an artist. It still is. So what do I do? So I want to get an arts education. So I started saving money in this little envelope. I kept it in a little book so no one would touch it. And I opened my first savings account with the help of my mother at the age of 15 to save up for art school. And another thing that my mother did, she being a first-generation immigrant to the United States from Taiwan, she had a training in Chinese painting and calligraphy. So that's what she taught me, was what she knew. And I'm really grateful for that because I still see that coming out in my work today. And that's kind of, those experiences really stay really close with me. So I applied to all the art schools. I got accepted to the Rhode Island School of Design, and I thought, so how can I continue this? It was always the next step. How can I continue this? How can I make this into a reality? So I thought, okay, maybe I study fashion, because I was interested in three-dimensional forms, and it was fashion was about building things on the body. I thought that could be perfect. So, and maybe I could get a design job, you know, and maybe that'll pay the bills. So I studied fashion first year, and then I transferred to the School of Art Institute here in 2010. And then I took my first metal casting class, a metal welding class, and there was no turn back from there. So I thought, okay, this is very different. I have to learn about all these sparks, all this fire, and how do I do this? So I was very fortunate in being able to meet really great people that have really mentored me and taught me how I can sustain this as an artist. And it wasn't as a sculptor, I'm sorry, and especially metals art. And it wasn't easy because doing little gigs here and there, helping other people make larger scale sculptures, you meet a lot of people in the industry. And I would say these larger companies, like they are mostly male dominated. A lot of the welders are also mostly male. And you get called names, and you get giggled at, and you get laughed at. You're like, what are you doing here? But as my mother said, what's next, and how do you keep it alive? So, you know, sometimes you just have to learn to say, no, that's not okay, and that's wrong, and keep going, and tell them, this is wrong, but I'm gonna do what I have to do. So, yeah, as a woman metal sculptor, I've learned, you know, you get called names, and, you know, things happen, you get giggled at, but it's okay. Be able to say no, be able to tell the people that they're wrong, even if I'm young, be able to explain something when it is wrong, and be able to talk about it. And through that kind of opportunity, I really also treasure all of the people that I've met through the community. I think sculpture, especially for large-scale sculpture, it is so important to have many hands instead of just the power of the hand. It's power of many hands. It is all about teamwork. It is all about the people you meet, the friends you make, the friends you treasure, and then also taking any opportunity to meet new people, treat them with humility and empathy, because you don't know what they're going through. You get to meet them. Then if you treat them with empathy and humility, they return, most of the time, empathy and humility to you. And those are the relationships that, as an artist, as a arts community, I think I've really treasured. And I think on that note, thank you for this community. And thank you for this new community and new people, new faces that we all get to meet today. And happy International Women's Day.
Bravo, Gwen. Thank you for that beautiful story and the importance of those values of humility, empathy, and compassion. Well, say goodbye to my little doll. I pulled her out for International Women's Day. She was brought here by my friend Viola, who gave her to me several years ago, and I pack her away at the end of each program and then pull her out. Thank you, Viola. I hope you're still here with us. Viola and I used to work at the Public Defender's Office. Yes?
Book signing on May 12th. Can I mention that?
Sure, sure. Okay.
Patricia Ricketts' new novel is being published in May, and she's going to have a presentation here on May 12th with a book signing. Patricia Ricketts is here too. Thank you.
Okay, sure. All right. I want to say thank you to each of our amazing speakers. Thank you also to former club artist in resident Jenny Button for her kind assistance and introduction to Meg and to Diosa. Thank you to Connie Hinkle, please, who worked with Lynn in hanging all of this magnificent art on the walls. And thank you, Ruth, for introducing me to Gwen and her beautiful artwork. Thank you also to the club's wonderful manager, Kristen, assistant manager, Sally Farmer, Chef Victor, and all the members of our dear staff. I see Michael, I see Miss Washington, I know Shonda's here somewhere. Every one of you, and in the kitchen there too. We have the best staff. We have the kindest people here. I'm just thrilled with them each and every day. Finally, happy International Women's Day to you all. Walk out proud and happy and do a little dance and stay strong, Ukraine, Zivio.